Lost World Minute, the Bit by Minute podcast reviewing the 1997 sequel Jurassic Park, one at a time. I'm Brad.
I'm Dave.
And today we're here to discuss minute 42 of The Lost World. Dave, how are you going?
I'm doing good. Still in love with this T-Rex here.
And the photos continue to flow.
Mm-hmm.
I've organised an expedition to go in and document them.
Well, I didn't read it. I listened to the Congo audiobook this week, one of Crichton's earlier works, which I had no idea how early it actually was. I wasn't sure if it was pre or post Jurassic Park, but I thought it would have been around the same time. But it was about 10 years earlier. It was set in '79 and released in 1980.
Oh, really?
Which really threw me for a loop, because I know the movie came out after Jurassic Park, but
yeah,
that was sort of a thing at the time. Jurassic Park was successful, so they're looking for other Crichton works.
There's a Crichton craze going on after Jurassic Park came out.
Yeah, because they got that in Sphere as well.
Yeah, I was just about to say Sphere.
And then he later worked on Twister and some other stuff, but
yeah,
the fun 90s.
Yeah, there was the TV show. I'm not sure if you guys had it, but it was called ER. It was based in a Chicago hospital, and because Michael Crichton was a MD, he was a writer on the show, and my parents just loved the show.
Yeah, no, we did get that over here. I wasn't a fan, and I didn't really watch much of it.
Like I said, I just remember that my parents just used to tune in every week when I was a kid. That, West Wing, and Jag.
Yeah, well, I was definitely into Jag. But it's interesting. It's set up much like Jurassic Park. The novel, I've always heard that, same with Sphere, that the novel's a lot better than what the movie was, and the movie sort of wasn't a very good depiction of what happens in the novel, but this might be one that I prefer the movie over. I haven't read a lot of other fiction that's been made into films, but Crichton seemed to have got the short end of the stick whenever they made his novels into films.
Yeah.
They always, they've seemed to have taken the biggest choices to change a lot of stuff. Some of the simple stuff, like the gorilla in the novel doesn't talk, it does sign, and the narrator does sort of say what it's saying and not what it's signing. But in the movie, of course, they've got the auto language thing hooked up to its arms, and it can talk, which is okay. But the Tim Curry character's completely added for the film, which it's one of my favourite Tim Curry performances.
Mr. Hazmaker, stop eating my sesame cake.
Stop eating my sesame cake. Yeah, it's a great performance. And I've got a lot of Crichton stuff, and it's one theme I sort of see from one to the other is you'll just suddenly go off on a rant of something about technology or where technology currently is in the time, or setting up sort of stuff like that. Like the evil corporation in the novel is Earth Resources Technology Services Incorporated, where in the movie it's Travis Global or something. That same sort of thing, same sort of greed to get these diamonds out of the Congo that can. In the movie, it's to power the telecommunication satellite, but when in the novel, it's sort of more dragged out and more explained. It's more for like circuitry, looking for that next thing after the circuit board, sort of thing.
Yeah, and then of course in the movie they also touched on the fact that these diamonds were so pure that you could create like a laser, cutting laser from them.
Yeah.
That was included in the big climax of the movie.
Yeah. I did rewatch the movie straight after listening to the audio book and just noticed the changes, because the laser's nowhere near the novel either. Something made up for the movie.
Speaking of lasers, did they have the laser fencing in the novel? Because I know they had that in the movie.
Yes, they had laser fetish, almost identically described as what the script says in the InGen camp for the Lost World.
Yeah, because the InGen camp had a laser fence system.
Well, it was more of electronic fence. So it had it was like a lightly woven aluminium mesh that had voltage going through it. It's the movie. I mean, I got mixed up there. It's the movie. It's got the laser fence, similar to what the Lost World should have had or was meant to have. But because that's one big part of the final scene when they're sort of defending the camp, and those lasers come to effect, and you wonder why didn't they just use them from the start?
Yeah, because that's kind of something that was subtracted from the scene the following minute that we're coming up here.
Yeah, but the pacing in the movie sort of works a lot better too. They're sort of on mainland America, then they're in the jungle. It's all sort of flows pretty quickly. Whereas in the novel, it's like they're in the jungle for 5 or 6 days, just not doing a lot. Sort of a new discovery is made every day. It's not sort of a day to do it. Especially when they're getting attacked by the apes every night, and every night the apes are sort of figuring out new ways to get past their defences.
Now, in the movie, I believe it was Stan Winston Studios that did the ape effects.
Yeah. And again, that's another difference too. In the novel, it's sort of they are actual apes that are just grey, whereas in the movie they're sort of more mutated, not really apish, more human. They walk like humans and whatever else. But most of the grey ape stuff, the mystery of it sort of runs through the novel much as it does in the film. It was interesting too. All the audio books I've got are all narrated by men, which, not trying to be sexist or anything, but when you got a cast in a novel, it's mainly men. They can sort of do the voices, and if they got, even like Jurassic Park, if they got like the kids' voice, they can sort of do a lighter pitch voice for the kids, and for the most part it works. But for Congo, it's a female narrator, and she sounds very close to that automated voice thing from the movie, especially when she's doing the Amy Gorilla, good gorilla. It's like, oh no. And trying to do some gruff tribesman from the jungle doesn't really come off that well either. But hey, she's the voice actor. I'm not. But yeah, it wasn't too bad. I still, as I said, prefer the film. I can see why people going from Jurassic Park would have thought it was a good next step and would have been excited for it, and then being let down big time in the movie theatre. But yeah, the movie's a guilty pleasure for me, so. Alright, not a lot to talk about pre-game for today's minute, so Dave, you want to get straight into it?
Sure.
As we ended minute 41 of the Lost World, Malcolm's team looked down over the hunters' camp. Eddie was impressed by some of the equipment they'd brought with them and said they were well organised. As we start minute 42, Eddie finishes his comment that there's some Major League toys. At 41 minutes and 5 seconds, we cut to a shot of a Humvee with a large satellite dish in the back. Malcolm says their dish is bigger than ours, maybe we can use it to call the boat. Kelly asks if they want to build another park here, after what happened on another island. Malcolm replies to not build anything, they're taking these animals out of here, back to the mainland. At 41 minutes and 21 seconds, we cut to Nick taking some bolt cutters out of a backpack. He says Hammond thought these guys would have turned up, and if they hadn't been finished before they did, he did send a backup plan. Sarah replies, what backup plan? Nick pulls the handles off the bolt cutters and puts them in his vest and says, me. At 41 minutes and 33 seconds, we cut to the main command tent and Ludlow's beginning his speech to the board of directors. At 41 minutes and 47 seconds, as he's talking to the board of directors via video link, he kneels down and pokes a small cage with a compy in it. At 41 minutes and 50 seconds, we get a shot of 2 TV monitors, one with Ludlow at the compy and another one with InGen board of directors back in San Diego. At 41 minutes and 55 seconds, Ludlow tells the board that in a moment he'll take him on a stroll through the camp and show him some of the more impressive specimens. And this ends minute 42 of The Lost World.
So straight off minute 41, we got Eddie. He was talking about the well organised and now some Major League toys. I'm not sure exactly what he's talking about here, whether it's the satellite, the vehicles.
I think it's the satellite stuff, because Malcolm mentions that the dish is bigger than the one in the trailers, and so he kind of jokes that I might have to ask to use them.
Well, yeah, it's interesting because we get the shot of the command tent, and you got the Hummer parked there with the satellite in the back, and they're setting up some cables and that for the uplink we're about to see. But yeah, you get Malcolm Haiti. Maybe we can ask to use their satellite phone. The dish is bigger than ours. From memory, that early shooting script, Malcolm was actually going to go down there with Kelly and Arks to use their phone to call the boat so he can get out of there. It's just funny that it's joked at here instead of actually being part of the script. But we get Kelly, so they actually want to build another park here after what you said happened on the other island. No, there's no building happening here. Malcolm sort of says to them that they're not building anything here, they're taking these animals out of here back to the mainland.
Yep.
So we're sort of told what InGen's plan is by Malcolm here, and not... Although I think it's pretty obvious from here they're catching these animals for a reason. Although we haven't seen any cages before now. This is sort of what I'd imagine the InGen would have done when they went back into Nublar to sort of get Jurassic World happening again. They would have gone in and tranquilised everything and put it in a separate area so they could start construction.
Yeah.
But unfortunately we've been robbed of that scene in films. Hopefully we get something in Fallen Kingdom, but
it would be great to just get like a comic or even a small junior novel or something like that, just to get a prequel in there about how they built the park, you know?
Yeah.
Because I would imagine it would be a lot like this. Plus, I can't remember, I think it was on the viral site somewhere that they said they transferred a lot of the animals off of Sorna to start Jurassic World.
And that would make more sense because there's not as many, or as far as we know, there's only really the Rex that's left over from the original park.
The Rex and a couple of raptors that we never really see or hear about.
Yeah.
Don't even know if they survived to adulthood.
Yeah. And you got to think the license contingencies did sort of knock out most of the population. Life may have found the way, but it wouldn't have been for all of them.
Yeah.
But we get Nick here. I figured I should tell you guys, haven't told me these people might show up. He thought it would be finished in time before they got started, but in case they weren't, he did send a backup plan. Sarah, what backup plan? And Nick pulls the handles off a set of bolt cutters and puts him in his vest and says, me. So, interesting that Hammond and Nick had a discussion before he'd met Malcolm, and sort of filled them in that InGen was what they were going to be up to, that they were going there to do this, and if they do turn up and you haven't left there already, to foil their plans.
Yeah.
Which again is a sort of bit of a shift from the scripts, because the early script, Malcolm knows full well that they're going there.
Yeah.
And it's sort of that's how he goes there to sort of help Hammond then to prove his own. Well, he's running the mission or the team there because he wants to sort of clear his name.
Yeah. In the older script, it's almost exclusively Ian Malcolm who sets it all up. It's a lot like how it is in the novel, where Malcolm's kind of the one leading the whole charge instead of John Hammond.
Yeah.
Simply put, InGen is seeking limited partners to defray some of our expansion costs. The prospectus you've been given by the board explicitly details our projected hardware and construction expenses, and as you can see by my two friends here with me tonight, software is already fully developed. One might say they've been up and running.
And then we cut to the command tent with Ludlow, a voiceover by him, but you got a group of hunters assembled in front to watch the monitors, which I always thought was interesting and curious because, especially when this scene starts and the monologues or the speech starts, you get two more hunters sort of come in. One looks over his shoulder to make sure he's not blocking the camera that's panning in, and they're all coming in to watch these little TV monitors that have been set up. One showing Ludlow and one showing the boardroom, InGen headquarters.
Yep.
And again, sort of a little thing here with technology, how the satellite blink's not a clear picture. You got fuzzy snowball and everything else. So
yeah,
again, makes me wonder what the Major League toys are when technology is inflammable here. Which is sort of a dig back to Crichton as well. Like, he would have definitely had this sort of stuff. We've got all the technology in the world, we still can't have a clear broadcast from one spot to another.
Mm-hmm.
But,
well, also, there's I'm not sure if it's on a computer monitor or a TV monitor, but there's a feed of Isla Sorna, the same Isla Sorna maps that we get in the trailers and on Hammond's computer, that false color map or whatever, but it's on a monitor in the background.
Oh, okay.
So we know that...
yeah, there's two. It's blue.
Yeah, it is.
And it's got two other islands next to it.
Mm-hmm.
Just going off the behind stuff, you've also got some... one thing we'll get to in the next minute is the model for Jurassic Park San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
But you got a lot of the concept artwork for it as well.
Yeah.
It's interesting here when Ludlow goes down to show the compies, that monitor's off. With the map
the
on
trailer
it.
With the map.
Yeah, at 41 and 46. Yeah,
huh.
he squats down to poke the raptors, poke the compy cage. The monitor's off.
Huh.
So again, maybe not a full shot scene, or not shot in continuity there.
Yeah.
I've got to stop watching this. Yeah, because he walks over towards the compies and it's on, and then when he squats down and the camera shot changes, it's off. But also interesting, Burke's here standing beside the camera operator as well.
Mm-hmm.
Which I hadn't noticed before. But getting into what he's talking about here, the speech, simply put, InGen's looking for limited partners to defray some of their expansion costs. The perspective they've been given by the board details the projected hardware and construction expenses. And as you can see from our two friends here, the software is already fully developed. One might say up and running. And that's sort of one thing we talked about in an early minute about version numbers and how they see the animals as software, with the different version numbers, different egg batches and that sort of thing.
Yeah. I find it interesting here also that Ludlow considers Jurassic Park San Diego an expansion on the Jurassic Park project and not like a just whole reboot of it, you know?
Yeah, well, that's it. And like expansion costs for projected hardware and construction expenses, it's sort of it makes you wonder. Well, if they're expanding, why wouldn't they just reopen Jurassic Park? If the lysine at this point, if the lysine contingency did come in and sort of kill everything, they'd be herding the animals up and taking them back to Nublar, possibly, because we don't get Jurassic Park San Diego mentioned until the next scene, but it's quite possible this is something new that hasn't been built yet that they want to construct, because we don't know that it's been sitting there for so long unused. Which we'll definitely get into the quibbles about that in the next minute, but and it's not. It also makes you wonder if this board has always been here. If it's sort of just like an investors board meeting of people who've already signed on in the last 6 months or something to fund the expedition there to catch animals, and they're looking for some more to help out get the park open.
That's what I think it might be.
Yeah, because I don't know how a large board like this would have survived 4 years with not a lot happening.
Well, it also goes back to the first novel where they had like a lot of Japanese business investors.
Yeah.
So I think that's what might have been here is they were investors previously already invested in the Jurassic Park project, and they're just asking for more money, like you said.
We got the two little compies here in the cage. When you sort of look at them, that's a still that was one of the first things I seen for this film in the local newspaper when they were advertising it coming out, and trying to piece together what this scene was in respect to the novel. Again, very, very different what we got in the novel, but now I'm not going to look at the video. Has he got his cup back in his hand again here? Because when he says we end off the minute with him saying to the camera, or we see the board of directors on a fuzzy TV screen, but he says in a minute we'll take you for a stroll through the camp and show you some of the more impressive specimens. And he's got his cup. He's got his cup back, and he's back on the whiskey again.
Yeah, I think it might actually be a different cup, probably with coffee or something in it to wake himself up.
Yeah, well,
because it'd probably be really bad to show up to your video board meeting drunk.
Especially when he's the CEO.
Yeah.
But again, just this little tent scene, I just love the way it's dressed. Just making full use of the concept art.
Yeah.
Having it around. Because that's the thing, they've paid these artists, well, you assume they've paid these artists to do the concepts and everything. Well, don't just let the images get rolled up and put away in storage. Let's get them on set and use them.
Yeah.
There's also a little torch there. Well, they got some torch lighting or lanterns on the walls as well, and the InGen crates. I need to buy some wooden crates and just slap the InGen logo on them to have here. It's such an easy prop to do, but it's one I haven't done yet, and I really want to do it. But yeah, again, not a lot for this minute. A bit of a speech, and the crew looking down over the hunters' camp. Dave, anything else you want to bring up for 42 before we get out of here?
Yeah, I'm not sure if you want to do this minute or talk about it next minute, but there's another deleted scene directly after this scene ends.
What scene's that?
It's where Sarah and Nick sneak into the camp and cut off the fuel lines on the cars.
Yeah, well, we start the next minute with Ludlow saying some of our more impressive specimens, so it will cut from that into them coming in and starting to do their sabotage.
Sure.
And we can talk a bit about that and how little we see, but how much of an impact it has. Alright, so that's 42. Dave, thank you, and we'll get out of here.
Alright, yeah.
Alright, guys, let's get the hell out of here.
Contact details are on the website, thelostworldminute.com. You can email feedback to thelostworldminute@gmail.com, Facebook, The Lost World Minute, Twitter @TheLostWorldMinute, and Instagram, The Lost World Minute.
Easy to remember.
Yeah, very easy to remember. Right. David, thank you for joining me for this record.
Welcome.
And we'll be back. I've been Brad.
I'm Dave.
And we'll talk to you all later. Goodbye.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
It is absolutely imperative that we work with the Costa Rican Department of Biological Preserves to establish a set of rules for the preservation and isolation of that island. These creatures require our absence to survive, not our help. And if we could only step aside and trust in nature, life will find a way.